Welcome to a football show here on the 440 Sports Network. That is Nick Suss of the Tennessean Total Defensive Titan Shill. Nick Suss. I am Braden Gall. And we are brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. It was very hot. The Titans practiced against the Seattle. Honestly,
Did anyone else lose Braden, or did I lose Braden? Yeah, I didn't hear a single thing you just said. Now I can hear Braden. Braden, do your introduction again.
so we're off and running.
Do your introduction again.
We're off and running.
That seemed emphatic. That seemed enthusiastic. The people want to know what you said. Please give us a second take. Give us a second take.
Coming down. 3, 2. Welcome to a football show on the 440 Sports Network. That is Nick Suss. I am Braden Gall. Nick Suss, defensive homer shill apologist. Nick Suss. I am Braden Gall, and I did not see what he saw on defense today. So embrace debate. We are brought to you by Sinkers Beverages, and we're going to have a lot of things to talk about because it was hot, but there was football happening between two teams in Nashville, Tennessee. They're going to play a game on Sunday night. Not sure it matters, but we're going to talk about practice today. We talk about practice, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. I'm still hot. I didn't get into the house until like 3 minutes before we started this, so I am still nice and feeling the outdoors. And let's just start by saying the Seahawks also felt this on what was honestly a fairly mild day in Nashville compared to last week. I think the Seahawks had 3 starters go down with what Mike McDonald described as heat-related issues. So sometimes we take for granted how used to this stuff we are. And then, like a week or two ago, I was back in Mississippi for some family stuff, and it was way worse. Man, we have it bad here. And I feel like I'm soft sometimes. This summer heat is something else, and Braden is celebrating it with a sponsor of the show, perhaps.
It's after 4:00 on a Friday, and it was very hot. So yes, this is a cold beer, an ice cold, refreshing beer, a hop rye hazy IPA from Yazoo Brewing Company, which yes is a sponsor of the 440 Sports Network. But you can buy that Yazoo hazy IPA at Sinkers Beverages. I poured it into an East Nashville beer mug, so drinking one sponsor out of another sponsor's glass, both of which you can get at Sinkers Beverages. And if you are as sweaty and as gross as me, you need a cold beer. You need a cold beer. I did come inside earlier than you did, though. So
You did.
You're the hero.
I might have some beer in the fridge, and I might do a beer at some point if you need me to walk out and grab some.
Will you go do a beer? Yes.
Do you need me to go do a beer?
Go do a beer. Yeah. Let me talk about Sinkers. Go do a beer.
Okay. I'll be back.
Okay. We're off and running. Yes. My 2 favorite Americans. Really? I appreciate that, Sean O'Reilly. It's not often I get to catch a live show. So hello, lads. It seemed like a good day all around compared to last week. Also, Sean, I don't know if you're a European football fan, but don't tell me about the Gunners and don't tell me about Arsenal today. I have not yet watched the match. I'm waiting to watch it with my daughters over a nice pint from Yazoo that you can get at Sinkers Beverages. How many beers have you done? Says Jordan. This is my first one that I will do. I can't tell you how many more beers I will do, but right now I've got the one right here ready to go. I can't get up and go get another one because somebody has to run the show. So here we go. What? Don't tell me what kind of beer it is because I don't want to get you in trouble.
I had a beer in the fridge, and it sounds like this when you open it. So that's the kind of a beer I will be drinking. Covering the label very dramatically. What if that blew up in my face? That would have been fun.
That would have been good. Good TV theater. What would it have? It would have been good. Something.
Good theater.
I won't reveal the results. Don't worry. Thank you. He's talking about European. He's talking about EPL soccer, which starts today. Arsenal begins their defense of their title. Sorry if this has been said, but Suss was watching the defense or offense more. So Nick Suss watched exclusively the defense, which is good because I watched mostly the offense, although I tried to watch some defense. And the problem with this is that I have out of context plays. Because the only, I would say I saw maybe 8 to 10 plays of the defense. And every time I saw the defense make a football play, it was the Seahawks doing something devastating to the Titans defense. So we're going to discuss what exactly Nick saw, what I saw from the offense, because I know I was watching them a lot more than you were. Sergeant Bubble says it's definitely a White Claw. No free shouts. Come on.
There was a non-White Claw in the fridge. We had 2 alcoholic beverages in the fridge. I grabbed the one that is beer instead of seltzer.
How did Josh Williams look today? You can't hit him, so we don't know what he looked like.
Well,
he's still cheating at football.
Much like the Johnny Carson impersonator in season 3 of I Think You Should Leave. He can hit. Joshua Williams can hit.
I know, it's cheating.
You just can't hit him.
He's cheating. I'm stealing this from Easton, but he's cheating. You can't play football and hit people and then not get hit. That's cheating.
I don't care. He can hit.
Oh, man. Okay. One might say that Sus is over complimenting that beer.
Maybe. I don't think that's what the phrase means. That's why I changed it to mean what it means. I do not want to have to explain what that word means to people who work in the news industry.
Okay, so it was, in fact, the quote was, in fact, glazing. So those that don't know, you wrote a story about the defense, right? No, which one had the glazing in it? Which one was that?
Alec Iomanner talking about Kevin Winston.
All right, and look, I have been glazing Kevin Winston on this program for the better part of like 6 months. Now, the way I understand the term, remember, we had to do this with stand culture. You had to correct me subtly. Like I was close. I was like 85% of the way there, and you had to really correct me at the end. The way I understand glazing is sort of doing it disingenuously. Like it's sort of you're going out of your way to kind of over compliment someone, but do it in a way that's not necessarily authentic or genuine. You're kind of doing it, and that's why the phrase really is no glaze, right?
I'm just gonna say
Glaze
this,
gate?
Braden. I'm just gonna say it, and then we can please
No
move the hell on.
No.
What is something substantially that could be described as glaze?
A donut?
Okay. Now, why would I not want to talk about a donut?
You got to use English here, Sus. I'm 44 years old.
There are substances that can be referred to that way. And I'm done talking about it.
Oh, God. Just say the word. Just say the word. There's no FCC on this. Just say it.
But I don't want to talk about this.
Are you going to talk about your pussycat next?
Let's talk about the practice.
Coach Wells, this is out of control.
If you guys pay for the shows that we do live and in person where there are no recorders, I will talk to you guys about my opinions on glazing.
Okay.
But right now, I'm not going to define glazing at 4:16 in the afternoon on a Friday.
It's one of the most searched terms. If I said that Cam Ward was the best quarterback in the league, that's glaze. Yeah, there you go. See?
Yeah, you're using it correctly. I just don't think you're getting to the root of what it means.
Oh, I think we all know what it means, Sus. You don't have to explain that to every 55-year-old editor at every newspaper. You don't have to do that.
But
you
I
can just
think
tell them
I would have to.
You can just say belt to ass. You can just say that. You don't have to like.
I think ass is allowed in the newspaper.
Sus is a robot. We are going to talk about the Titans practice at some point. We're going to talk about this. I do love the the over complimenting. I did like that. That was a nice touch. All right, go read his column. Go read his story about the defense. Just glaze the defense top to bottom, up and down, and they played great according to Nick. They played great. We'll get to the offense after this, but let's start with the defense because that's what you covered today.
Yeah, I don't want to start with great. I want to start with I think they won the practice. I think the Titans defense outplayed the Seahawks offense. I'm not going to sit here and say that they played great. I don't think that won the practice necessarily equates to great, but I will say what I saw from the Titans defense was that the run unit was about where it's been all camp, which is they know how to fill a gap. They know how to stuff the run. I was really impressed with how the second and third level defenders played against the run. We saw a lot of Tony Adams today because Amani Hooker didn't practice. This is a don't worry situation. He was dealing with some sickness, I've been told. So Tony Adams got a lot of that safety rep, and also he's been playing a little bit of nickel. So we saw him in both places. I liked the way he filled some of the gaps in the run game. I thought that James Williams had a good day against the run. I thought that obviously Jeffrey Simmons and the guys up front had a good day against the run. But it was really the way the defense played against the pass, and in particular, the way the defense responded in man coverage. Or maybe I should say the way the defense responded when the ball was at the point of attack that impressed me. I think that last week there were a lot of moments where Titans defenders looked like they were in position but did not make a play. Today I counted 4 instances, I want to say, of a pass breakup, and then one with a pick six from Alante Taylor, and only 2 touchdowns in 10 team periods, including like 10 plays in the red zone, and they only got in the end zone once. I think this is a significant upgrade from what we saw last week. I think that it's kind of hard to not say that when they were giving up half a dozen touchdowns in the red zone period alone. Now to just give up 2 all day against the Seahawks. There are obviously some mitigating factors. The Seahawks weren't used to the heat, like I mentioned, and Seattle still trying to figure out its running game after letting Kenneth Walker work, and also some situations here and there. I don't think Cooper Kupp practiced much. I didn't see that if he did. Obviously some factors there, but for the most part, to my count, the Seahawks secondary or the Seahawks passing game was down at like high 50s, low 60s completion percentage. And last week, Curtis Rourke was at like 88%. So unless Curtis Rourke and Dejon Stribling are significantly better than Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba, I would say the Titans had a little bit of a show some backbone kind of day.
So I want to. All right, what I saw, like I did see the Alante Taylor interception in the 2-minute drill at the very, very, very end, and I thought, from what I saw, and this is why it doesn't really count. What you saw matters, and what I saw, unfortunately, was JSN working Alante Taylor on a go route down the sideline with a beautiful pass from Sam Darnold. What I saw was Rashid Shaheed just cook him on a double move, wide open in the end zone. Didn't get the pass because it went to the other wide open player who scored a touchdown. I saw in the first and this was at the start of the second period. In the very first period, while watching the offense, I was trying to watch the defense, and which does create some distraction. But I was trying, and I saw a bunch of tight ends making plays and scoring touchdowns. So I didn't see. I came back over into a different location to watch the second portion. I thought, to your point, I thought the running defense and the gap control defense was very good for the Titans. But I did think that when put in situations, and this is where I think this is the most important context in all of this, is arguably the best wide receiver on the planet looked pretty good. And I don't think that's a crazy thing to say about a corner who neither corner is really considered like a top 10 or top 15 or top 20 guy in the league. You're going to get beat by the best receiver in the game most of the time. So I wasn't super worked up about it. I'm glad to hear that from your perspective that they, quote-unquote, won the day. I do want to ask you one follow-up, though, because they got into a fight, not the defense, but there was some scuffling happening in San Francisco. And there was very little. And I talked to a former Titans player today, and I said, what do you make of the vibe out here, dude? You know, the energy, as we discussed on Wednesday. What do you make of this? And he was like, this is not what it's supposed to be like. I was like, what do you mean? It does feel kind of like agreeable. Like, he goes, no, if I played on a bad team and was going against the Super Bowl champions, I'd be flying around trying to kill people, trying to make sure that everyone recognized that we are not going to be pushed around. Now, is that the way you should approach a practice in the middle of August when it's super hot? Probably not. Is that the way we approach practice in 2026 versus when this player played? Probably very different in terms of how we approach practice in our bodies and taking care of things and trying to prevent injuries and all this other stuff. There was a tiny little mini scuffle on the offensive side for the Titans when Leonard Williams kind of tossed Tajay Spears down and the offensive line came to his defense. But it did feel very, like, agreeable is the word I would use. Like, I didn't think it wasn't intense. There was some hitting. But, like, it did not feel like a true joint practice between the defending champs and a team trying to prove themselves or win jobs or correct mistakes from last week, because according to your column, they were super focused on this secondary, the defense, all week long. What do you make of that? I don't want to say complaint, but perspective from a former player.
I'm going to do the thing where I say the same thing as you, but I say it in a very, very different way. So know this is coming from a place of agreement. Something that struck me today watching the defense as they succeeded a little bit more than I expected, something that struck me was they were acting like they'd been here before. And that's not the case. These guys have not been there before. They have not succeeded as a unit together ever. And this organization has not succeeded by and large much at all in the last 4 years. And it wasn't like, oh, you make a big play and you're all jumping around and you're all thriving and you're all hooting and hollering. It was you make a good play and you come back and you run the next play. And there was a lot of that. And like after the pick six, after Alontae Taylor's pick six, they ended the play in the end zone. That's part and parcel of how defenders play in the modern NFL. That's a celebration. But like to your point,
also at the very, very end of practice in a 2-minute situation, like.
But to like your point, there was a play, I want to say maybe the last move it period, where Rashid Shaheed is going deep on a go route on a 3rd and like 15. And the Titans defense has made a stop and the Seahawks just have to heave the ball. And Shaheed's going deep and Tony Adams has him in coverage. And Alontae Taylor is over near the sideline and he sees the ball floating and he says, I'm going to make a play on the ball. And Alontae Taylor recovers a ton of ground and comes horizontal across the field. And he leaps for the ball. And as he leaps, he turns his head to the left and he notices that the ball was not as underthrown as he thought it was. And he goes up and he collides hard with Shaheed. And no flag is thrown. It was a clean play. Like it was timed perfectly for a guy who's breaking up the pass. He just didn't end up with the ball. Both of them go down to the ground. Both of them are down for a little bit. These are former teammates. They played together for a long time in New Orleans. And no scuffling, no pushing, no shoving. Like this was a hard hit that didn't necessarily need to be made in practice. And neither team got up and shoved the other team. Both guys got up. Both guys played the next play. It's not like there were any concussion tests. Like this was not a really terrible hit.
Doesn't this have to be because they know each other and they had a relationship?
Partially, but speaking to Alontae after practice, he was like, yeah, that scared me. I checked on him after the play, and then I checked on him before the next play, and then I checked on him after the next play. And he kept telling me, bro, I'm fine. You're good. I'm fine. And like they care about each other. They're friends. But I think that
it could have easily escalated into something else. So.
Yeah, that to me was illustrative of the Titans were acting like they'd been there before and the Seahawks weren't out for blood. I think the only time I saw the Seahawks offense really, to a question that was asked earlier, the only time I saw the Seahawks offense really be like, hey, what the heck, guys, was after a big hit from Joshua Williams, where they're like, what are you doing, man? We're not allowed to touch you. Stop it.
That one's cheating. Yeah.
And it wasn't a scuffle or anything, but there were some like 5 or 6 guys around him going, come on.
Which is what they should do. That's what they should say to him, honestly. I don't know how he doesn't say that to himself.
But we talked about this, but buried in your question about that, you talked a little bit about what you saw from the defense from afar, the big play Seattle hit. I'll add a little bit of context for those since we have a forum here and I didn't have the word count in my article to kind of explain these in detail. And now I can empty the notebook. The long pass to JSN, probably a 35-yard gain on a go ball.
Perfect pass, by the way.
Perfect pass down the sideline.
Gorgeous throw. Yeah.
He beat Alontae Taylor. And it was the second or third play out of the like simulated halftime that they do.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's interesting. Both Cam Ward and Jeff Simmons talked about how they thought coming out of that break, the Titans were a little bit flat and they had to like get back into speed. And interesting how that happened on both offense and defense.
Because Cam's first 3 reps coming out of that break were a drop by Carnell Tate, a drop by Tajay Spears, and then an incomplete pass with the pressure where Cam threw it away. Yeah. So like the both units were very slow coming out of that sort of special teams simulated halftime.
And so truly just a great play by the Seahawks. I don't have anything else to add about that. On the touchdown you referred to where there were 2 wide open players, that was almost certainly zone coverage. And that is not to say that you don't need to be good in zone coverage. But on a day where the focus was so much about figure out how to be good at man coverage, it is not lost on me that the big play where everybody was wide open was a bust in zone. Maybe not a bust. And when there's a zone bust, it usually, I don't want to say every time, but it usually has more to do with communication and pre-snap play than it does actual ability. And so I put a little bit less stock in a busted zone than I do in a busted man coverage.
That's fair.
And also when you talk about the tight ends, I am only talking about the 1v1s here. There were moments in 2v2s where the Titans defense wasn't great. I do not, at this point in camp, when we've been doing training camp for a month, I don't put very much stock in what I'm seeing from the 2s. That's not to say that it's not important, but
Right.
I only saw one touchdown from a tight end during the 1v1s, and it was in the red zone period to start the practice. And then the other touchdown that Braden's referring to, where everybody was wide open, was a wheel route thrown to running back George Halani,
Yep.
where I would imagine it was a cover 2 concept that didn't work out, and there was just green grass on the sideline on the wheel route. That does add up to me saying Seahawks wide receivers did not catch a touchdown today, and the Seahawks running backs in the first team did not score a touchdown today. So we are grading this relative to what the Titans are, and we kind of have to grade this relative to what the Titans are. But when I think about the things that went wrong versus the things that actually looked improved, it's easier for me to come away thinking, hey, that's actual response. That is an actual show of backbone after your coach calls you out. If you guys haven't read the article, please go to Tennessean.com. As I say every time, I'm tracking how many of you click on the story while I'm in this podcast. I can tell you at the end of the show, I'll tell you how many of you clicked on it. But as I wrote, Jeffrey Simmons kind of got to the podium, and I asked him about how the DBs responded to the week of being told they need more urgency. And Jeff laughs, and he's like, we had a 15-minute whole team meeting that was only about man coverage. And we got the O-line in there, and we got the D-line in there, and we're bored out of our mind. But everybody has to listen for 15 minutes as Saleh explains the importance of man coverage. And the DBs just had to wear it. They just had to hear the coach go after them in front of the whole team. And so I asked Galante Taylor about it. He's like, yeah, they probably were bored. But like now they're holding us accountable. Now they know what we need to be doing as much as we know what we need to be doing.
Well, inner team dynamics and letting people down around you, that's a big motivator. I mean, that's a huge motivator. So I'll say this. I think one of the things, the phrases you just used, which is like, are we going to grade the Titans? There's a lot of different ways we can grade the defense. And again, we haven't talked about the offense yet, but let's grade the defense here. And it's like, well, we could grade them against the Seahawks as the Super Bowl champs. And we could say, are they close to being that good? Well, of course not. We could grade them against themselves and their own expectations in the last 4 years. We could say, look, I think they are more professional. They've got a better coaching staff. They've got more talent. I think the defensive line is good. I think they're adding some interesting and explosive pieces in the form of Gray and Hill and Winston. And I think that's one way to grade them. And then you could grade them against last week, right? You could say, how did they do against the Niners? And we could say, where is the trajectory of this whole thing going? And I do think, despite my disappointment with the minimal amount of defense that I watched, I think you can absolutely say that they were better. Now, it does seem like that they were more complicated or complex, or like Sam Darnold was talking in your story about disguising defense. So it seems like they were doing more football stuff, which is Robert Saleh's MO in practice. I want to do football things at football practice to get my team ready for football games. And so I think it seems like maybe that's what they were doing. They were doing a lot more complicated disguising of coverages and schemes than they had been in San Francisco. So it seems like they made progress from last week. It seems like they're not as good as Seattle. Okay. No one else was last year. And that they're better maybe than they have been in the last couple of seasons. I still think we need to see it. I still think we're not going to know, but I think that is a positive report for Friday, August 21st, if that's what we're talking about.
The Darnold quote that Braden's alluding to, I actually do think is fascinating. It's probably the most anybody has said about how this Titans defense works of anybody this offseason, including Titans players and coaches. So there is some value to it. He talks about the Titans are dangerous when they rush 4 because you have to be afraid of that front. But that makes them even more dangerous when they rush 5 or 6 because they're disguising that well, and they are also, you have to prepare for 4. You have to prepare how to use your double teams. And that makes the 5 and 6 man rushes even more dangerous because you're expecting 4. And then when the Titans mix in a fire zone, as Darnold says, it gets incredibly complicated. And then he threw in the wrinkle about disguised coverages, which is something that we almost never hear about when it comes to Robert Saleh, who is a guy who likes to play really straightforward attack downhill defense. And Darnold was like, yeah, they were disguising their coverages really well. They have a lot of talent in the back end, which when he said that, everybody's ears perked up. They're like, okay, talent in the back end. We don't necessarily hear that as much. And sure, maybe this is some over-complimenting if you guys want to make fun of me more. Maybe
no one's making fun of you. I think they're making fun of me, honestly.
Yeah, I want to know.
Did you see where Stoney said you were like Ron Burgundy on the show reading the teleprompter? I feel like that's me. I feel like that's me.
Yeah, Caden, let us know if Stoney was making fun of me or Braden. Because
definitely me.
I don't care. Um, I think that when you hear Darnold say this, when you talk about the way the Titans came out this week, they were so bland and so vanilla in that preseason game last week. Maybe not as bland and vanilla in the joint practice, but what we saw in that preseason game was incredibly basic.
Yep.
And so I think it is worth following as the Titan starters play maybe a full half on Sunday against Seattle. It's worth watching if you are a hardcore football geek. Pay attention to, are the Titans disguising their coverages? Are they mixing up their pressure packages? Are they doing these things that they beat Seattle with? Because if they're not doing that, then don't get in an uproar about the outcome of Sunday.
Wouldn't you I would be surprised if they continued to be complex and creative. I would expect them.
Yeah.
I would expect them. It's on national TV, so everybody's watching the tape. It's a TV tape that you can get. I don't know if other coaches can get the tape of this practice. Now, NFL Films was there, so there's going to be evidence all over the place. But I assume that you do your creative and fun and interesting stuff in practice when the whole world's not watching or has access to the footage or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on defense. Anything else you want? Any players? James Williams, I think, got some mention by some folks. You mentioned Tony Adams already. I think Jermaine Johnson, you mentioned in your story, did pretty well. Any other players stand out to you in terms of what they accomplished today?
That pretty much covers it. If you guys have players or trends about the defense that you want answered, that's what the comment section is for. We'll come back to defense after we've kind of caught up with the offense here. We're about halfway through the show, so it's probably a good time to pivot.
I'm being live producing and hosting the show. You are Ron Burgundy.
I'm being metatextual, you guys. I'm letting you know that I know that you're watching the show.
What happens if you are metatextual inside a parasocial relationship? What happens then? Anything?
Then you need to go touch grass.
Probably. Yazoo Brewing Company and East Nashville Beer Works and Tennessee Brew Works, 3 great local breweries, of which I am drinking currently. You can get them all at Sinkers Beverages. So go to Sinkers Beverages. They have an award-winning craft beer retail fridge. I didn't even know we gave awards for that, but Sinkers has it. They are the reigning champions, and you can go in there. It's in the right when you walk in, right by the THC corner. Not saying I know that or anything, but it's right by the THC corner, and they got a huge wall of delicious beers and a huge wall of THC bevies. They got all kinds of mixers right there as well. So I didn't even know. I told you this a couple of months ago. I didn't even know you could buy a bag of olive juice, but you can. Because the olive and the olive juice never leaves the jar at the same ratio. So I always need to replenish my juice. You can go get some olive juice at Sinkers. They've thought of everything is my point, is what I'm saying. Sinkers Beverages, everybody.
You could probably, if you guys need another reminder, I know it's been like 2 years since we talked about my seldom sparse drinking habits. This beer I'm drinking, which I won't say by name, but I will compare to champagne.
I was going to say it looks like champagne.
Compare it to champagne. I bought this the day the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. So last one in the fridge. Finished it off.
Yeah, it does. I do feel bad for your drinking habits. Okay, you got to have a couple more beers than that over a 7 or 8 month period of time.
I go public. I have
that's
friends
true.
in the real world. That's usually where I'm imbibing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I might do some tonight. I might have some Nashville beer tonight. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, there you go. Tennessee Brewworks is a good place to do that downtown. They got the Belmont Bluegrass Trio was playing there last Saturday when I went to the Miami match with my family and kids and friends. We went to Tennessee Brewworks, got a pregame set of fish tacos and some smash burgers, and then drank some good beer and went to watch a soccer match in 1,000-degree temperature. What is the difference? What's the difference between olive juice and olive oil? What?
Becca, come here.
No. This is this.
It's a good question.
Is it an actual question, or is there some disgusting punchline about glazing coming?
No, you were just talking about bags of olive juice.
Olive juice is not olive oil. They're not even the same product.
What's the difference between olive juice and olive oil?
No, what? This is not a real question.
It's a real question because
No, it's not.
He doesn't know. He's not being joking.
Olive juice is in a jar of green olives.
You squish it, and there's like juice is more of like the brine or like olive oil.
Yeah, it's brine. It's briny juice that you use in martinis, in dirty martinis.
Purified into a
Okay, but like, how do you get the oil versus how do you get the juice? Is what they're asking. Do you squeeze to get the oil?
You don't really get the juice. It's just olives soaked in brine, and then the juice becomes olive juice. Because
Okay, what's
olives
brine?
are sitting in it. Brine is like what is it? Salt water?
Okay.
Salt. I mean, that's.
Are you in the wrong?
No, I'm not in the wrong. I'm answering a reader question.
These are the important questions of our time. Olive oil is like an actual product that is like created, and there's a process from olives. Like it's a different thing. I don't know. Olive juice is just like water that olives are sitting in.
Yeah, Becca's perpetually mad at me because I can't understand the difference between pitted and unpitted olives.
Why can't you understand the difference?
Pitted means the pit has been removed.
Yeah.
But pitted also means there's a pit in it.
Okay, pedantic.
So
I got it.
If the jar says pitted olives, does that mean there is a pit or there is not a pit?
Technically, pitted olives. Technically, pitted means they have been de-pitted.
If it's been pitted, there's a pit in it. But if it's been pitted, there's no pit in it.
Well, no, you don't have to.
We need a different word because antonyms can't be synonyms.
You don't have to pit an olive. It's already in there. It just comes that way.
It's pitted. So the olive's pitted.
The olive is born. The olive is born pitted. It transitions to de-pitted later in life.
But we still call that process. I pitted the olive.
Sure. All I know is Steve Cavendish completely disagrees with you that the phrase is all gas, no brakes. Not all gas, no brakes. All I know
is if I'm at the store...
Jeffrey Simmons said all gas, no brakes today with an S.
He said both. If I go to the store and it says pitted olives, what am I buying?
There's no pits. They've been pitted, which technically is de-pitting.
Yeah. We need more specific words.
Did you all get sun poisoning or something?
ZD, you comment every week and you're acting like this isn't the way we normally act.
Honestly, this is how we talk on the sidelines of practice.
This is exactly the way we talk. And Dustin, don't think we missed your comment. That's funny. That's a good comment, Dustin. Good work.
Olive juice was nowhere to be found. Couldn't find her.
Was not in Popeye at all.
Best reporters that exist right here. There we go. Now we're talking K-Dodd. There we go. Olive oil is cold pressed olives. These are the important questions of our time. Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah. And Jordan, thank you for comparing. Jordan, thank you for comparing me to Bob Odenkirk. That was nice of you. I'm not going to pretend like it's a mean thing, even though it's a very mean thing to say. Thank you very much.
Belvis, also one of the best named commenters of our show. What's up, guys? Glad to have you that covered the team without an agenda. Value your honest opinion. All right, let's get to some more honest opinions about the offense.
Can I ask Belvis if it's Belvis or if it's B. Elvis? Like, is it a first initial? Let us know in the comments.
I don't want it to be anything other than Belvis, so I refuse to acknowledge if it's anything else.
Okay, so we'll move on. Let's talk about the offense.
All right. So I thought the offense, the most important period of time in the first half, right before the kind of fabricated, simulated break, it is Belvis. There we go.
Hell yeah.
It's a velvet Belvis. So the Titans' best period, I thought, of the entire day on offense, of both the best period of the first half, the best period of the second half. The best period of the first half was their red zone period, which was kind of the second time that the first team offense was out there, right? They did one out in the regular in the midfield where they ran first quarterback, second quarterback, third quarterback, first team through third team. They were fine. They connected on a lot of passes. I would say it continued Cam Ward's efficiency from both from Saturday to Monday to Wednesday, where he has been very efficient, completing a lot of passes. I also think the offense is heavily focused on running the football and throwing the short passing game. They did not take a lot of deep shots today. Now, in the 2-minute drill, which was the very last possession, they actually did very, very well. In large part to two very large pass interference penalties. Now, Alec Ayomanor did catch the pass in the end zone and would have made the catch on a very long pass, but he was interfered with, and when they knocked him down, the ball bounced out. It looked like he might have hit his head on the ground as well. It was a pretty hard hit. He kind of lingered on the ground. He got back up again. But they scored a touchdown pretty easily in the 2-minute, and they were very good, first, second, and third team, in the red zone period in the first half of the offense. I thought they were a little sloppy, to your point, when they came out of the break. Carnell Tate with the drop, Tajay Spears with the drop, and then a blown up block and a sack against Cam Ward. I thought the tight ends looked very good. Daniel Bellinger caught a touchdown. Gunnar Helm caught a touchdown. Alec Iomaner looked very good today. An incredible catch in the end zone, in red zone, in the first period where Cam Ward threw it to him. I think you're going to see that one. And actually, PK and I were talking to, I can't remember who was shooting the footage for the team. But they were like, oh, yeah, he got it. he was going to. So you'll be seeing that one out on the socials pretty fast, if not already. But I thought the offense looked very composed. And I thought the most important part of the entire thing wasn't necessarily Cam Ward being great and making big plays. It was the fact that they continue to run the football behind Fernando Carmona and J.C. Latham. And I say that as not to say that it's going to be their best thing that they do, but if the Titans are confident, comfortable, and productive running the football behind a sixth-round rookie and J.C. Latham, fifth-round rookie, my apologies, behind a rookie guard and a guy that is a critical piece that will dictate how good the offensive line could or won't be this year, is an enormous development, in my opinion. Because if they were running behind Skoronski and Dan Moore, and everyone was saying, like, yeah, that's pretty good, we're running off Skoronski, he's doing very well, that's to be expected. But going behind a rookie guard and a tackle that, while has extraordinary ability, is also very well documented, his sort of mental evolution, let's call it. I think it's an enormous – even the third team was creating, like, legitimate holes for the running backs to pick up ground. So I think the whole offensive line and the way they blocked, the way they practiced on Saturday, Monday, and Wednesday running the football, the way they ran the football today, especially to the right, I think it is off of the heels of running the football well against San Francisco in the game. So you start to put the whole picture together, and they're feeling very confident in running the football to the right. And I think that is one of the biggest developments for this offense. It doesn't speak to Cam Ward's projected efficiency or if he's growing or if he's going to iron out some kinks. We're going to find that out on Sunday if he makes progress from last week. But I think one of the biggest developments you could have is Carmona and Latham being productive, dependable, efficient, and frankly, something they want to go do. And I think it's exclusively because of Carmona's neck roll. I think more offensive linemen need to wear it. That's it.
Yeah, I will say, so much of I very rarely do a told you so. I've been talking about the right side of the offensive line being a run blocking power for a couple of weeks now, and I'm glad that other people are starting to notice. This is where they like to run the ball. But I will also say, if we're going to move a little bit into not geek corner, but football nerd corner, a thing that as a football nerd, I really appreciate. I think one of the reasons why this Titans offense is going to be so effective running to the right is not just because of the ability of Carmona and Latham to block, but because of the ability of Peter Skoronski to pull. I think you're going to see a lot more pulling guard action in this offense than maybe you're accustomed to in a zone forward offense that the Titans have favored for a couple of years now. I think you saw that a lot in the preseason game, that Peter Skoronski was moving out. I don't know what he was doing today. I wasn't out there watching, but I do think that a bedrock of what this Titans offense is going to be able to do is if you have a 3 technique lined up between Carmona and Latham, or between 2 tech, 1 tech. If you have a nose tackle, defensive tackle in the B or C gaps, you can leave him unblocked. You can let Carmona get up to the second level. You can let Latham take the end, and you can have Skoronski come around and kick that guy out. And that's going to be an effective way of creating a hole instead of asking your running backs to find a hole. I personally really love the create a hole offense. I know some people love zone blocking and love the idea of just let the running back find cutback lanes and kind of let that be the way you play offense. Both are really effective. The Titans have had a lot of success running zone offense in the past, but I think one of the things you're going to see over and over again, the Titans running right is as much a compliment to the left side of the offensive line as it is to the right side of the offensive line.
I think the other name, I think all that's correct. And I think you saw that on both first, second, and third team moments today, where it was instant. It was orchestrated, planned, and delivered quickly. Now, when it happens on the third team, how many of those guys are going to make the team? How many of the Seahawks are going to make the team? It's kind of hard to know. But I do think, like, for example, I think Schlottman was very good today. And I think he was solid last week as well. I think when you start to look at the running game, it's not just Skoronski pulling. Also, by the way, I've seen backside tackles lead blocking on running plays, and that on the other side of the formation, like, that's pretty creative. Like
tight ends too.
Like the pin and pull thing is like one of my favorite things. That's basically old football but new football, right? Popularized a lot by Shanahan. I love that concept, but like this is like the opposite of pin and pull, and they're doing a lot of creative stuff. I think Schlottman's been very good. The holes were like instant. I think the other compliment here that you need to give is I thought the vision today from Pollard and Spears was also excellent. Pollard had a number of plays where he got into the hole that was designed for him, and he ended up working all the way back to the other side to pick up the extra 10 or 12 yards. And so, again, Pollard's not going to be – no one's going to look at Tony Pollard and confuse him for a game-breaking back who's going to rip off explosive runs. But if you can give him enough hole, can that guy get you 8 yards every single time? If you're doing it well, absolutely. Very dependable, very productive, very predictable running back. I think Spears is a fascinating piece of this offense. He's got to stay healthy. I think he's better between the tackles than PK does. I think he's really good out in space. I think Brian Daboll is very interested in using him in a lot of different creative ways. He has got to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, I think he can be a 150-touch guy who gets to like 600 or 700 yards of total yards from scrimmage. I don't know if he's going to score a lot, but I think they're going to use him a lot. And so I thought they looked really good today running the football. Cam was efficient, and I think the numbers, I think various different reports have him at like 20 of 26 ballpark, I think somewhere in there. Couple touchdowns. He was good. He also threw a pick six himself, exactly like Sam Darnold did in the second period of team. He throws it right over the middle to Carnell Tate. I think it was the safety. Is it Okuda or
Okada, I think.
Okada. I think he's the safety. He jumped the pass, cut in front of Carnell Tate, picked it off, and was going to would score a touchdown. It was a pick six. So I think if Darnold had the one pick six, it's erased by the Cam Ward pick six. But I thought the offense, Ty Okada, that's correct there. I think I think overall the offense, I would say, won the practice barely. And if you're saying the defense kind of won the practice barely, then I think it's fair to say that the Titans, quote unquote, won the practice.
Yeah.
Not by a lot. There were plenty of mistakes, but I think it was a really good day of practice. And I don't know if it means anything moving forward. We can talk about the game now if you guys want to. If you have any other players that you want. Carnell Tate has not made a bunch of plays.
I have a story that just went up about this also. Cam Ward had some interesting things to say. I asked Cam if Carnell's going through a cold streak and how you kind of approach a receiver hitting their first adversity as a pro. And I'll just read you guys the quote verbatim because it's classic Cam, but it's also like very insightful Cam. And let's see if I actually typed it where I'm scrolling.
I would argue that classic Cam is insightful Cam. Yeah.
So
I think that's what makes him a very interesting guy.
So to quote, he doesn't have a cold streak. He plays one of the hardest positions in sports. You're either going to get the ball or not get the ball. He never shows that to the team, whether he's frustrated or not. The thing about Carnell, whether he has a drop or I have a bad pass, he never points figures at anybody. He always comes back with a next play mentality, and I think the best thing about him is he wants the ball. So when the ball does get thrown his way, he's urgent to it. He high points it. There's times where he bails me out when the ball needs to be better. He's been great. He may not have had the splash plays like he always does today, but he's going to be a key reason why we're successful on offense. And then he continues to say, after a little bit of just chatter about how the NFL is hard, he can't control where I put the ball each and every play, but he can control how fast he plays, how much violence he plays with, and just the urgency that he has getting in and out of the huddle and running his routes. He's been doing all that. We're going to continue to find ways to get him the ball, but 14, he's going to be a playmaker for sure. I like that insight.
I haven't seen anything different from either of those players.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way. I'm a little bit concerned. I will acknowledge it front off that Carnell was not a playmaker in the joint practice against San Francisco. Carnell did not catch a pass in the preseason game. Carnell had a minor injury last week or earlier this week, and then Carnell didn't catch a pass today. I'm concerned in the sense that, it seems like he's hitting that point in training camp where Alontae Taylor talked today about how sometimes as a rookie you can hit a training camp wall of, man, this is just happening, and maybe I came into it too hot. I think it's possible that Carnell is still adjusting to the speed, and he came in real hot, and now he's readjusting. I'm not concerned at all about Carnell's poise. I'm not concerned at all about how fluid and how smooth and how easy the game comes to him. I would say there's a little bit of concern just that, he's got to handle himself well to come back from this. But I'm not concerned about his ability to handle himself well.
He's also not a particularly really thick, powerful player. He's a very explosive player coming off the line, but he's not he's I don't want to say slight's not the right word, but he's not the biggest, beefiest guy. He's also not a yak guy. So there's going to be you have to use him appropriately and the right way. The offense has to put him in the right positions to excel, because if you give him contested 50-50 shots, especially down the field, he's going to make plays. So but I agree. I think his approach is very similar to Cam Ward's. I've been saying that I think for 6 months now or 4 months now. I think he's got this quiet confidence where he's never too high, never too low. I think that's how Cam kind of functions to some degree as well. There's an interesting question here about Bryce Oliver that I think is Bryce Oliver has essentially one wide receiver 6 with his work with T-Rub and his elite special teams nature. Here's the thing. I saw a lot of special teams today from 87, and I wonder if they are trying to see if they can not cross-train, but if they can get more out of Xavier Restrepo than just slot receiver. Because I think the way I described it on Monday, and I think PK agreed with this, which is that Restrepo does the one thing of all these guys the best, which is play the slot. Bryce Oliver is the best special teams player of the group, and KJ Osborne, who's the other one I would put in the mix. Those are the three. And KJ Osborne is probably the best pure receiver of the group. So they all three kind of have different strengths, and generally special teams would lead to you getting the job, probably as wide receiver 6. I don't know if that's how you see it as well. There's also a chance that none of them make the team.
I want to say this. I want to make it clear I'm saying this as Nick Suss, person who thinks about stuff, not as Nick Suss, reporter. This is not reported. This is me getting on a soapbox. We talk too much about... I think we are way too quick to say capable of being the gunner means good at special teams. There are 11 players on the field when you are in punt coverage or something like that. And to reduce the value of are you good at special teams to saying are you good at being the gunner is in a lot of ways just such a soccer ass mentality of the only person who matters is the guy who scores the goal. There's a lot going on special teams. And this isn't a compliment to Restrepo, and this isn't a knock on Restrepo. But when I see him out there doing special teams work,
it's not the gunner.
I can't talk about scheme. I can't tell you guys where he is. There are limitations to our credential, but I will agree, it's not the gunner. And so I think sometimes we see, he's not playing the gunner. He's not a good special teamer. That would think about how insane that would be if we were talking about offense or defense, where it's he doesn't matter. He's just the right guard. He doesn't matter. He's just the cornerback. Obviously all 11 positions on the football team matter at once. So I agree that Bryce Oliver is a very valuable special teams player. I think of these three options, he is the most valuable special teams player. But if you're talking about special teams value, you can't simply reduce it to position on special teams, and you can't simply reduce it to position on offense. Because when we're comparing Bryce Oliver's special teams value, we're not comparing it against Restrepo, and we're not comparing against KJ Osborne. We're comparing it against Khalil Mullings. We're comparing it against Michael Carter. We're comparing it against David Martin Robinson. We're comparing it against Kylan Granson. We're comparing it against guys who are going to play the positions on special teams. So don't think of it as wide receiver 6, and don't think of it as simple, he can be the gunner, he's a good special teamer. Special teams are way more complicated than we give it credit. And I've tried really hard to watch what Restrepo does on special teams to see why he has this reputation of being a bad special teamer. And I think the only thing we reduce that to is he's not a natural gunner. And if that's what we're talking about him being bad on special teams, there's so much more that goes into it.
I agree. And I want to be clear. I didn't say bad on special teams. I said they were using him in other ways on special teams that don't involve returning kicks or punts or gunning, to your point.
Yeah.
And that to me is just them saying, all right, we got to see if he can do other things. And if he can do other things, maybe his skill set as a total player wins him the job. That's all. That's all it is. Like, again, I think Osborne's the best pure receiver of the group, but you don't normally keep the best pure receiver of the group at number 6. That's all. That's all. And the other question is, like, how many other good players are available for this roster that they need to keep? And that could be a factor as to who wins, either if 6 is on the roster or not, or who wins the job or doesn't or whatever. So
Last note here, and then we'll move on. You know who else is really valuable on special teams, despite not really being a gunner? Julius Chestnut. He's been on this team for a while.
Yeah.
Kendall Brooks. He's been on this team for a while.
Here's a couple. We can empty the notebook now. Go to Sinkers, everybody. 6-time liquor store of the year. Please go support them. They've got great bourbon selection right now. The top shelf is legit. It's awesome. No glaze. Okay, so here's the question. Joey Sly looks like he's completely solidified the job. Like we
He turned a corner.
We kind of said, it wasn't a great practice, or it wasn't a great couple days. I don't think he's missed on like 20 kicks since we talked about that. So it seems like
he's been good.
He's kind of shut that whole thing down. I don't know about any other, like, again, I thought Alec Ayumanor has looked very good in the last couple of weeks, and I think he was very active today. He's a target that Cam Ward is beginning to trust in the end zone in particular. I thought he was very good. I thought Ridley had a couple of nice plays today as well. I thought the receiving core was good. I thought the running game was good. And again, I studied mostly the offense on my end of things. Any other players you want to out, or any other?
Fix your microphone again. I'll talk about players. I think that when I'm staring through what's happening right now, I can't hear you at all, buddy. It's just, I guess we're talking about the new Weezer album that came out today because Braden can't use his microphone. Yep, it's Weezer Corner, and Braden is furious because he doesn't know that's what I'm saying. No, I'm trying to think of who else that we haven't talked about that I think is worth commenting on. I think that I don't think we've spent enough time talking about the guys who are going to play that other interior defensive line role this camp. I think that so many of us just assumed it would be Jermaine Johnson and then Jacob Martin or Keldrick Falk on the outside, and then Jeff and JFM in the middle. And I think there will be some of that. But I do think that the way they're going to move Jeff around and the way they're going to move JFM around is more than Falk is more than they admitted early on. And I think that is going to merit a lot more reps for Solomon Thomas than maybe we expected, and the same number of reps that we expected for Jordan Elliott. I don't think that those guys are getting talked about at all. I think they are going to be Mr. Thankless 1 and Mr. Thankless 2 for this team.
Yeah.
But when we talk about how good this team is against the run right now, a lot of it's Jeff. Don't get me wrong. A lot of it's Jeff. But the guys playing the other interior D-line positions are having a pretty good camp.
And honestly, I don't think it's just the tackles. I think Jermaine Johnson, Femi Oladejo, and these guys on the outside are better run defenders than they are pure pass rushers. Keldrick Falk is a better run defender than he is a pure pass rusher. So I think they're going to have a very good defensive line. I just don't know if they're going to get sacks. They're going to get pressures, and they're going to stop the run. And I think that's what this team is set up to do. And I do think the defense is going to do that. Solomon Thomas is like a total, like, consummate pro in the solid defense. Like, he's just knows how to do it, knows how to be there, knows where to go, is in position and is in shape all the time. I think Femi's strength is as a run-stopping and edge-setting defensive outside backer. I think that's what he's going to do very well. So I just think there's lots of really good pieces to the puzzle that we just don't know about yet. But I think the defensive line is the best part of the puzzle.
Yeah, to answer Informed Watcher 3, thank you for so much feedback today. We haven't really been calling on your comments because you've just been saying the correct thing over and over again. But what you're asking about Malik Herring, Truman Jones, kind of a insightful way to frame that. Yeah, I would say that since the Jalen Harrell injury, there has not been a clear answer to who is going to be that number 5 edge guy, especially since Jeff and JFM and those sorts of things are capable of playing off the edge as needed. But I do think Malik Herring has taken advantage of some opportunities. I think Truman Jones is somebody who, if you can put him on the 53, great. If you can put him on the practice squad, great. I think he's somebody worth having around. And also a guy who I don't think anyone has ever mentioned on a Titans podcast before, but Ernest Brown has also had a little bit of juice to him off
that
the
99?
edge.
Is he 99?
Yeah, number 99.
Yeah.
He has some juice to him off the edge. I think that the Titans, I've talked about this on the show before, I'll say it again. I think the Titans' strategy this year is to fill out spots 30 through 53 on the roster and fill out a good chunk of the practice squad with non-vested veterans rather than rookies and UDFAs. You're still
KJ Osborne.
Yeah, you're still going to have players who are developmental as a UDFA on your practice squad. But I would not be shocked if the majority of the Titans' second and third string players this year are guys like Malik Herring, Truman Jones and Ernest Brown, who have all been in the league for 2 to 4 years, who've bounced around, who are accountable and know what it's like to be elevated on a game day and that sort of thing. I think that is kind of the backbone of this team's depth. So it wasn't lost on me that at a position like edge defender, where the Titans did not have obvious depth coming into the offseason, they didn't sign a single UDFA there. That's pretty notable for the strategy.
Yeah. What I think is really interesting is Ernest Jones was, by the way, Ernest Jones was on the other side.
Yes, he was.
He was on the Seahawks.
That's why I left. I caught myself.
Look, I think it was a good day. I think overall it's a good day. So my last question to you is we can wrap this up, which is sort of like, what do you want to see? And by the way, Hank Beatty did have a good day of practice, and I think a good week of practice this week. Your Mason Kinsey replacement, Hank Beatty. What I think is like, what is the way to look at the game Sunday? We're going to do a full recap on Monday with PK, but like, what's the way to look at the game Sunday that you think will indicate some form of growth or progress or trajectory, or what directions the arrow pointed? Like, what is it going? I don't think it's going to be super complicated in the secondary. I don't think they're going to run like. I don't think you want Cam Ward out there a ton. So I don't know. Like, what do you make of what the strategy is going to be?
Not to be the lamest guy ever, but if I see another game where the first team offense doesn't have procedure penalties, if I see another game where the opportunities in third down on both the offense and the defense go well, if I see another game where the opportunities in red zone go well, I'm probably going to say, yeah, this team's ready.
Good job.
Yeah. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad, but I know they're ready. I want to see the operation go smoothly. Obviously, get out of it healthy. You don't want any significant injuries in the preseason. But right now, knowing what I know about Saleh's approach to all of this, which is even more vanilla than a lot of what we've seen, if you're going to go vanilla, the only reason you want your starters to play is to check on the operation.
Get reps, yeah.
And if the operation's good, spectacular.
Are you close to pinpointing a win total?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, I'm not asking for it right now, but I'd
say it's going to be somewhere between 0 and 17.
I'm getting closer to pinpointing a win total, and it probably was what I thought coming into camp, even though I have been pleasantly surprised with many different areas of the team.
Yeah, I agree.
So there you go.
I think there is a difference between the team being better and the team being ready to compete. The team's definitely better. I still am not convinced that there's enough top-end talent on this to win close games, but I think they can win some games.
I think a lot of it depends on their last two draft classes, and if Femi and I'll include Cedric Gray in all of this, but if Marcus Harris and Kevin Winston and Femi Oladejo and Carnell Tate and Elik Ayumaner and Shim Dike and Gunnar Helm, and like if that Carmona, if that whole entire group of their last two draft classes plus the Cedric Gray of it all, if those guys can kind of continue to, like, that's where you start to see the talent level elevate.
Yeah,
for sure.
I was talking with somebody in the Titans front office at the blue and white scrimmage when we were all together on the sideline, and I kind of hit him with the line of, can you guys stop saying that you're building a foundation and just admit that you built a foundation and now it has to work? Because, like, that's where the Titans are at right now. If you want to get really, really blunt about this, of the 22 players who we project to start on opening day, do you know how many of them are under contract for 2027?
4.
20.
Oh, 27. Sorry.
Yeah, 2027. 20 of the 22 starters are. Thank you guys for noticing why I was in so much pain there. Yeah, the only people who
I
are
didn't
not.
even notice that.
Oh yeah, I'm in immense pain right now. It hurts. It hurts like hell. But I stub my toe 4 times a day. It's
Was
my
it the
greatest
kneecap?
weakness.
Was it the kneecap too?
Yeah,
Yeah, right on the bone. Yeah, and when you get older, there'll be less cartilage. It's gonna hurt worse.
I stub my toe every day. It's my greatest weakness in this world. But yeah, I'm bringing up that Jermaine Johnson and Tony Pollard / Tajay Spears are the only players on this team that are not the only starters on this team that are not under contract for beyond this year. This foundation is in place because this has to be the foundation that works. We've spent the last 5 years or the last 4 years, whatever you want to say, saying, oh, the Titans are trying to be good in 27. They want to make the timeline work when the stadium opens.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, yeah, it adds up. All of these players are going to be here when the stadium opens.
That's right.
This is the foundation. This is the team.
All right. Go get some local beer from Sinkers Beverages. Get Yazoo, get East Nashville Beer Works, get Tennessee Brew Works. Go to Sinkers Beverages. You can search Uber Eats and have the booze delivered directly to your house. Please go support good local businesses. Read the Tennessean and read Nick Suss's work. Check out Paul's work as well. Thank you guys for being so active and awesome on a Friday afternoon. It's time to go drink some good local craft beer. So have a good one. We'll see you Sunday. We'll be back on Monday. For Nick, I am Braden. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. You guys have been awesome. We will talk to you guys next time.